Mark, what are they doing?
I think there's climate change protesters, Insulate Britain, who said that they weren't going to give up. Of course, given what's happening with the shortage of HGV drivers, the last thing we want to see is blockades of a port where vital supplies are trying to get in and out of the country. So 39 people were arrested today. The police moved in. They did move them on, but it took a bit of time because there was 3 separate protests. That, again, is their pattern, trying to mount more than one protest so that they divide the police resources. So police go to one, they remove them on the A2, then they move to another one further up the A2, remove them, and then they move to another one which was just at the entrance to the port itself.
Actual police, it's not traffic police or anything, so this is police that are being diverted from whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing in order to attend to this, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some traffic police in there. There are some Port of Dover police officers as well, but many of them, and probably the majority, are ordinary officers who should be going about their daily business of trying to keep people safe in and around Kent. None of them want to have to do this, but of course they've got to respond to this kind of major disruption and this law breaking. It is an offence under the Road Traffic Act. Blocking the highway, causing a public nuisance is another offence they have been arrested under. But because they are minor in the scheme of things, what is happening is they get processed and they're out within a matter of hours and free to do it again. That was the thing about the injunction that was obtained around the M25. They knew if they broke that, that was actually a contempt of court. Judges take that very seriously. They could have faced a prison term, not probably a long prison term, but actually a stretch, even of a week or two in a proper prison, is enough, I think, to put most of these people off from doing that. Just being arrested, processed, released again.
But why aren't they being put in prison then? Because quite rightly what you say, you know, a week in prison or so, it might actually make them realise, you know, the error of their ways and think, actually, no, I don't want to be in here, I won't do that again.
I'm sure Priti Patel is listening to your every word.
I hope that you are, Priti. I'm furious about it. Nigel Nelson, I genuinely am furious about this. And the problem that the government has got is they cannot see to this. They cannot. I mean, you see the organisers, I've seen them quite a few times now saying, we will continue until we demand a meaningful statement from the government. I sit there and I think, shut up. Because where do you draw the line? Because if the government comes out and responds to this, then what? The next person who's got a cause, they know, actually, all I need to do is go sit in the next motorway. They can't surely respond to this, the government, in terms of giving them what they want off the back of it.
No, I think the danger of actually throwing them in jail is you make martyrs out of them, which is probably not the ideal thing to do. Certainly they should be arrested. Certainly they should be cleared off motorways. Certainly they shouldn't be allowed to block Dover. I'd rather they operated in a slightly different way themselves anyway, in a more responsible way, in the sense that we have some sympathy for the cause, that we all know that climate change is probably the greatest threat that we face nowadays. So they've got away with that. But what demonstration should be about is not upsetting people going about their lawful business. What it should be is a show of public opinion. What they need is a lot of people marching through the streets of London, all organised with the police, over a weekend, rather like the big Iraq march had when we had 1 million people out, which showed the opposition to that war.
Morgan, you see, I mean, Nigel says there about sympathies to the cause, etc. I've got no sympathy now to their cause. You know, any consideration and thought I might have had to, mass insulation, that's gone now, because now I just think they're an irritant. I don't want to hear about their cause, and they've lost me, and there'll be millions of people like me. What's your views?
You're entirely not alone. You've seen videos from all of these protests where people have gone up to them as they're glued to the tarmac and said, I would have supported you had you protested in Parliament Square like everyone else and just disrupted the parliamentarians and let me get on with my day. I think Extinction Rebellion is facing the same problem. They are turning a lot of people off to what probably could have been a much more popular cause, and they only have themselves to blame. They are not peacefully protesting. They are causing public nuisance. They are disrupting people's lives.
Well, they're breaking the law.
They are.
That's what they're doing.
I'm a firm believer that protest is a big part of a functioning democracy, but this is not that.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I've got to be honest, part of me was conflicted about whether or not to even mention this, because I think the more you give the oxygen you do.
Yeah, it is cat and mouse, there's no doubt about that. I think what the plan of action going forward, which is really the only thing they can really do other than trying to chase up and get there after the fact, is to go after the leadership of the group. They've done that in the past week. They've made a number of arrests of senior figures who they say were responsible for orchestrating and planning protests, so they can at least try to go after the leadership, disrupt the planning of these events, and hope that that might be a disruptive element that can bring about an end. Otherwise, it's difficult to see what they can do. Even when the new crime bill reaches royal assent that's going through Parliament at the moment to outlaw a public nuisance. Well, what they're doing anyway is criminal behaviour. It is breaking the law. They're blocking the highway. They're being arrested on suspicion of causing a public nuisance. So there is powers there for the police anyway. Well, in terms of actually stopping it, it is just playing catch-up, trying to get intelligence about where they're going and trying to stop them if they possibly can.
Well, Nigel, I've got to say, I've just inspired myself whilst talking. Doesn't happen very often, I'll be honest, but on this occasion it has. Because as I was just talking, because I was in conflict, shall I cover it, shall I not? If there was a pact made among the media that actually we are not going to give this cause any more media, any more publicity, shut down the roads if that's what you're going to continue to do, but actually we're not going to report on that. So if we starve this cause of publicity, do you think that might have an effect? And do you think newspapers, media outlets would just ignore this?
No. And we're now straight back to our original conversation where we came in about HGV drivers and the petrol crisis, whether we should report the facts because it caused panic buying. In the same way, this is an event going on, and because it's an event, the media should be there to report it fairly and accurately. The idea of trying to cover these things up, to stop them getting the oxygen of publicity, A, it doesn't work. Margaret Thatcher tried it with the IRA. Didn't work at all. It just became absurd. It shouldn't happen in a democracy. Whatever is going on needs to be reported.
So you think my idea was a bit of a rubbish one?
Yes.
That's not very nice, is it? But I still think I might be on to something, because I do think surely we have a responsibility in the media to look at the consequences of our actions. And if us reporting this and talking about this, and I'm aware of the hypocrisy because I'm sitting here talking about it, but if we weren't reporting it, then I do think it would stop it.
Would you say, let's not report a terrorist outrage because it might encourage a copycat? So it's where you stop here that I think people have a right to know what is going on, however unpalatable that might end up being.
What's your view?
I think that we're not their main target. Their main target is the government. They want to cause the government as much heartache as they possibly can. If they're protesting and blocking Dover, Port of Dover, the government's still going to hear about it. We might not hear about it, but
the pressure on the government to act is surely because it's dominating all the press, it's all over the media, we're sitting here talking about it. That's what's putting on the pressure.
Yeah. I think to Nigel's original point, we shouldn't schedule our news coverage around what makes the government comfortable.
I'm definitely on my own here, aren't I? Mark, do you agree with me?
Well,
I'll ditch attempt. Mark, please.
I'm afraid it's a news story because of the terrible disruption that drivers are facing. Lots of people are angry about this. They want to see what has happened. If anything, it sparks debate and it may be debate against, as you say, what they are actually trying to achieve, which is sympathy for their cause. But it sparks debate. People want to know about it. They don't want the news to be censored in that sense. As Nigel says, we're going down a very sort of slippery path.
OK, I'm outvoted. I get it. All right.
Welcome to the GBNews YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.